Andy Marrufo.
Hi.
I am so excited to talk with you. Thank you for
Thank you
doing
for having
this. You're fun. I know a little of your story,
Yeah.
and I would love to know more. Would you tell me another chapter
Oh, I'd love
of
to.
your story?
I think one of the one of the things people don't quite know is kind of the pivotal moment in my faith, and that was when my parents divorced while I was in high school, and they separated. They separated before that, but they really kind of just officially divorced when I was in high school, and I didn't quite know how to feel about that. A lot of anger, a lot of issues, a lot of craziness comes up with those moments, and so I think. In that time, I didn't know how to play an instrument. I didn't know how to play piano. Didn't know how to play guitar.
Really?
I was in choir. I was singing, and so I turned to a guitar my dad had bought for me when I was for Christmas, I guess, when I was a kid, and taught myself how to play. And then my grandmother, of course, was leading worship for our church at that time. And then
I didn't know that.
yeah, so it was kind of exciting. And so
And your grandfather was a pastor?
my grandfather was a pastor. And every now and then I'd be on the worship team with my grandma just singing, and I'd play the tambourine, right? And then learn how to play guitar. And so I think the Lord really, I drew close to the Lord in being able to play guitar because then it was another outlet. And began, again, something people don't know about me, but began writing music, which I have yet to really share a lot. Oops, forgive me. That's not going to happen here. But maybe one day. But again, the Lord really used the outlet of music to really just bring healing and just a formation and just an opportunity to really draw closer to Him and learn to really forgive my dad and to create through music.
Wow.
Yeah, through worship and music.
Powerful.
And, to begin forgiving my mother and again just the different dynamics of life and what that brought. And so I drew closer to God those days.
So then you went on to college?
Yeah, I went on to college. And I mean, even before that, I think I did 2 years of community college. I ended up moving with my grandparents after my parents divorced, just through family dynamics. And my grandparents practically kind of just supported me through those years. I was, I graduated high school living with them, and then I graduated. I moved on to 2 years of community college, and then I ended up in Hawaii after that. And then, funny enough, I moved back from Hawaii, ended up living with them again. Well, I finished up college here. So again, a huge portion, really, I just kind of think, a decade of my life living with my grandparents.
And so was there anybody that came into your life during college years?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about it.
Well, one, of course, is my grandfather. I think being a part of that kind of family dynamic, not only was he my grandfather, but again, ended up being just a pivotal father figure. And at that time, moving away and then coming back, I came to ACU. The Lord brought Gerald, we call him G, who was the head of the music department. He still is.
Okay.
And just to kind of clarify, G was the best man at my wedding. And it was funny when I asked him to be my best man, he goes, "Do you know how old I am?" I said, "Yes, I do." He goes, "Okay, I just want you to know that you're going to have an old guy standing up there as your best man."
That is so cool.
G's turning 70. He'll be 70 this year, and so it's exciting. But no, one of the best things about G was we really didn't get to know each other until maybe a couple of semesters into my finishing school, and he was the lead music director for the band I was in, the worship team, and kind of ended up just per chance taking me out for coffee and just kind of taking the time to really get to know me. I think we were sharing just earlier just the fact of he went out of the way just to ask me a lot of questions, just to get to know me and just get to know who I was and what I was doing and my family and a part of just what I was doing in education. I mean, always took me out to lunch. Obviously, as a college student, you're broke. So what better way than, to make a person happy than to feed them, right? And so, and over the course of maybe a year or so, it then became, wait a minute, you know so much about me, I want to know more about you. And he ended up just sharing, his whole life story, and it was just amazing how much relatable he became and understanding. Because not only, am I younger than he is, but again, he became so much more wiser because then I was like, wait a minute, you were there, you experienced that, and especially was there in me building my relationship with my wife, right? Calling me stupid because why am I not dating this girl that just really is all over me and loves me and cares for me? And here I am, just this guy who just didn't want any of that, And G says, "Andy, what are you doing? You're being stupid." So
What do you think the most important thing is he did to show up for you, besides the lunch? And I mean, how did he show up? And in that question, what do you think the most effective way is for someone my age to show up in the life of younger people?
So, I'll do the second question first.
Okay.
I mean, how to show up, and then what that looked like. And I think it was just to be real. I think just to be honest and open, and just no flaws. I mean, obviously we all have flaws, but just don't pretend to be someone you're not. And I think it was important for him just to relate just to who I am, affirm the person who I am, whether I was doing something wrong or whether I was doing something right. And I think it was important for me, as I was growing in my faith, for him to kind of just really be just very encouraging in any aspect. Before we really even get to know each other, he was just always encouraging, always affirming, always just would actually go out of his way to shoot me a text message, or even call me up on the phone, or hey, come to my office. I thought I was always in trouble, but it was just to see how my day was going.
Tell me something. How much do you think it played into your walk with God? How much did it play into the decision you made to go in to become a pastor? Music pastor.
Well, it's funny because I never thought I really would make it as a worship pastor, to be honest with you. I ended up studying music education as kind of a fallback. But G really kind of shined light into you can be whoever you want to be, because God has a pathway for all of us, and just a really strong figure spiritually. I mean, he was just always asking me, how's your relationship with God? Challenged me. I mean, I just asked questions, but always like, hey, what are you doing? Where are you at in your faith? Are you going to church on a regular basis? Are you being challenged devotionally? And he would even challenge me as a musician as I was developing my skills. Just, what's your philosophy of worship? What's your understanding of worship? How are you developing yourself as a leader? And even to the point where there was one moment in time where I remember clearly, I became the worship leader for our school band, and he set me down in his office, and it was a really serious conversation because he says, now, Andy, you can't just show up late to events. Now, Andy, you can't just put your songs in late. Now, Andy, you can't just do this. It was a moment in life. He gave me an opportunity.
You're being watched.
I'm being watched. He says, now I've given you this opportunity. Don't mess it up. But it was funny because even in the mess ups, he still loved me through those. And it wasn't that he just loved me through those. He would take me outside. Again, that's where those coffee moments came in. He would take me outside and say, okay, let's talk about this. And it wasn't a matter of just bashing, here's what I'm doing wrong. It was, he would always ask the questions. And then he would then proceed and say, well, here's what I see. And then he's like, how do you think we should fix it?
Did you ever get to a point where you kind of tried to move away from him and his advice and his...
Oh, yeah. Oh, even to today. There's moments where I know in my life, if I ever just, there's some things where I'm not going to talk to G right now because I don't want to hear what he has to say. But I know it's right sometimes. It's just, there's a couple of situations that have come up over the last even year where it's like, no, I'm not going to call him right now because I know what he's going to say because I know what the truth is.
So what do you think G does, knowing that that's probably what you're doing? Is kind of moving away. Does he just...
He laughs.
Okay.
He laughs at it. He goes, Andy, I know you're going to call me when you're going to call me. You're going to text me when you're going to text me. He says, all I do is I pray for you. Cool. He says, no matter what you do in life, no matter where you go. And it's funny because he's not, just like anybody, even with parents, they're not always happy with every decision you make. But they always love you in the midst of those decisions. And he says, Andy, no matter what decision you make, no matter what advice I give you, he says, I'm just going to love you through it because I know that's where God wants you in this moment, in this time, in this season. And so I think he's just always supportive of what I'm doing in life, very excited for what God's doing now. And just spiritually, I guess, always just challenging me to continue growing, right? Not to just be stagnant, but always what's the next thing.
What a powerful example.
Oh!
That is for someone my age to hear this story and to realize that we should never give up on anyone and find ways to relate and just be there. Just show up.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And I'll end with this, if that's okay. But
Sure.
one of the most powerful conversations I ever had with him was, him and his wife were never able to have kids. And so he knew going into college, the one way he could make a difference was speaking truth and life into individuals. And ironically enough, here is a broken kid coming from a broken family, and he didn't know it at the time, but just ended up really just transforming me and just changing me spiritually. I wasn't supposed to get emotional right now, but just challenging me and loving me to become the person I am today. And just God is good, and I'm very helpful, grateful, and happy that God brought him into my life.
Thanks, Andy.
Yeah.
This was great. I enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
You're welcome.